Well, first, I think that people should know that during the course of games, beginning, the middle, and the end of games, when the play comes in from the sideline, that either being a player brings it in or he gets it into his headset. There's all kind of players in the huddle don't like the play call. There's offensive linemen. If you're running the ball and you got a pass play, they're like, man, we should be running. I'm killing my guy. Wide receivers all the time. If they're not getting the ball, if they don't like it, they're always complaining about the play call. So someone complaining or not liking the decision the coach, that's not anything new to football. Now, as far as the accusation that he deliberately fumbled the ball, I'm not going to say I don't believe it. I'm just going to say it would be hard to prove it. Now, to me, I've always questioned Ben's leadership. And the reason why is because I know other stories. I don't need this right here. So it's not as if this right here was going to change my opinion on Ben Roethlisberger. To me, this is just more information that other people can look at. But I think it's very important to realize that other people in the huddle are not happy with it. Now, I haven't seen where someone sabotaged the play. I know the coaches called some routes, and I didn't want to run it, and I might have thought about it. But at the end of the day, you got a job to do. And if you don't do your job, you're going to be held accountable. So the lack of accountability that Ben had from the hierarchy would lead a player to believing that he botched the snap on purpose. So all the other things surrounding Ben, forget this. I can understand why Josh would draw that conclusion. Now, you're at the end of the game. Coach's philosophy, because Josh, he didn't have a whole bunch of carries. Todd and them might have wanted to give him a couple carries at the end of the game to be able to milk out the clock. Now, I know from conventional wisdom, you take a knee, they don't have a timeout, you take 3 knees, the game's over with. No risk of injury, things like that, because we have seen players get injured at the end of the game. So Ben saying we should take a knee, Ben's probably right. But a lot of times the coaches, they want to get some younger players a couple touches that they typically wouldn't get.
Well, in some context here, the offensive coordinator at the time is Todd Haley. Big Ben was angry when they hired Todd Haley, was angry with Todd Haley until they ended up moving on from Todd Haley, and Haley went on with a brief stint to the Browns. Additional context. That game right there, now, it's a 10-point lead. There's a minute left. The Steelers, even if they turn it over there, they almost assuredly win. But if the Bengals had won that game, the Bengals won the division that year. The Bengals finished 10-5-1. The Steelers finished 11-5. So that game at the end of the year, if I remember correctly, was, in fact, yeah, because I see the NBC sticker. It was the Sunday Night Football final game of the regular season, division on the line game. And that's the context in which this happened. Now, I can add one other piece of context, which is Josh Harris is not the only person in the Steelers organization that thought that is exactly what happened there. And it was hard to believe, and it is hard to believe because you would think, really? You're going to potentially, you mentioned injury risk. Hell of a lot of injury risk, even more risk than the team losing the game. If your defense now has to go out there against a desperate offense that's running lateral plays or Hail Marys, like, you put so much in jeopardy in that spot by trying to prove a point. But if this is true, if Big Ben did that on purpose, and if the play was called what Josh Harris said it was, which is a handoff to the running back, then him sticking out to the fullback makes no sense whatsoever. Then in that context, to me, that would be as bad, if not worse, than what Antonio Brown did, that we killed him for. I called that a form of like sports sabotage, form of, where you're sports treason. You intentionally fumble because you want to show up your offensive coordinator. You thought we should have kneeled. And you know why I think we should have kneeled? Bad things can happen if you call a run play. Oh, you call a run play? I'm going to show you the worst thing that can happen. That is unforgivable. That is, I don't even know how an offensive lineman that's killing a guy in run blocking, they call a pass play, so he just olays the guy and lets the quarterback get destroyed. Like, that is unspeakably awful from a sports character perspective. And if it is true, it goes in the line of the types of things that with this quarterback wouldn't be shocking. That's the part to me that sticks out, is I think there's 31 quarterbacks in the league that if this story came out, it would be instantly dismissed. So some backup running backs saying you did this. Yeah, with Ben, you at least have to really consider it and think about, wait, look at the video. Is that what happened there?
Well, in the video, I'm just going to tell you from a football standpoint, when he backs away, he reverses the reverse handoff to be able to hand the lead to the tailback. I guarantee you we can have footage of other quarterbacks that have fumbled by putting the ball, getting too close to the fullback and the ball being jarred out because the fullback's elbow hits the quarterback. So for me, if you didn't have that information about Ben, would you be drawing that conclusion? So for me, I don't know if he did do it. Right. I have enough other information to be able to be, like, in a football world, that could happen.
Well, okay, so whether it happened or not, whether you believed it or not, the fact that Josh Harris came out and said something, doesn't that speak to the overall dysfunction in this locker room that was there throughout that season, the seasons prior, the fact that it gotten so bad that now players are, and you always say you keep everything in-house, but now they're divulging secrets.
Listen, we have countless examples that Big Ben is not very popular in that locker room. He's been voted team MVP once. Juju's been voted team MVP once. He's been there 2 years. AB won it 4 times. How many Steelers that have retired and gone into television have told not this story, but have let the cat out of the bag a bit in who Big Ben is? And much like Mike Tomlin said with Antonio Brown, we'll put up with it as long as he's productive. We'll put up with it as long as we have to. With Roethlisberger, it has been, listen, he's a great quarterback. He is a future Hall of Famer. He's won multiple Super Bowls. He's been to 3 of them. So what are you going to do? But the guy's not going to change. He's not going to all of a sudden in his late 30s become a better teammate.
So as long as he's there, this is who the team's going to be?
Well, that's who Big Ben's going to be. I don't know that I can assign all the drama and dysfunction to him, but as long as he's there, that's who he's going to be.
Right, and Josh Harris has nothing to do with the culture that they have now. I was wondering why he said something at this point, and to me, I don't want to be a person that's piling on, and just because I see some smoke coming from the wood pile to believe that the house is on fire. All right? I have my own information about Ben Roethlisberger. It has nothing to do with this fumble. As far as this, does this equate to what Antonio Brown did? I would say absolutely not. It doesn't equate to that because, for number one, we can't prove it. We can prove what Antonio did. Like, we can prove that. And this game, for the most part, they're in the red zone going the other way. The other team's got to go 75 yards, and they got to be able to score twice. So I believe that the comparison between the two is totally different, and this part right here is not proven.
Well, and to be clear, if I wasn't before, I said that if this is true, it's the same thing as what Antonio Brown did to me. Now, I understand your point that even if it's true, it didn't put their team in as bad.
No, they needed to win the game. They needed to win the game, Pittsburgh. Antonio decided not to come and play. So the Pittsburgh trying to clinch the division in the last minute, 90 seconds of the game, and if Ben decided to do that, if it being true, it's not the same as the guy not coming to the game because the team didn't have a chance. The team didn't. I'm not even going to give you my services for the game. Ben had played 3.5 quarters.
Right. He played almost the entire game.
So it's just not the same. It's not the same. I know Ben Roethlisberger, because Antonio's gone, L. Bell is gone. Ben Roethlisberger going to get a lot of criticism based on what the general manager said, but I don't need this information to change my opinion of what I thought in Ben and his lack of leadership, the lack of consistency that they have there in Pittsburgh.
All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.